Well, hello, good evening to you. Welcome to the Rude Boy Sound. I am DJ Paul once again for the Spurs a sound off. It is a Friday evening, rainy, cold, and stay inside. Hang out with the family. I just finished watching a movie, y'all, and kind of different, a little South African setting. It wasn't bad. The acting was, yeah, but man, but today, what's happening today? We are getting down to business, the business end of the window, and as promised, I don't really like to talk transfer because I have no idea what is going on, and I'm doing a little research on Tottenham. What I thought I knew about the club, I wanted to extend that a little bit more and actually look at the record in terms of the legacy of the club. And so a lot of our fans uh, use banter, online banter, and internet banter as facts. And so when you really look at it, right, the dynamics of Daniel Levy sometimes can skew the rich history of the great club that Tottenham is. And Spurs, that Tottenham, or the HotSpurs, as they were first known, the first couple of years, that is, being formed by a bunch of schoolboys who wanted to continue playing during the winter months because there is no cricket. For those who are outside of Europe and Americans who will probably watch this and say, oh, yeah, that's true. Yes, it is true because it's colder. You don't play cricket in the cold months. You reserve that for the summer, spring into summer, and then the colder months, like test cricket and so on and so forth. You will go to the West Indies or go to other continents or regions where the weather is friendly. Have more Caribbean tours and stuff like that. So which is conducive to cricket. Anyway, I just realized as I was looking through the record and looking at when I started supporting Spurs, and you know you can lose a lot of things when you start getting all these little things up here. And the guy I used to admire earlier, when I started to understand football as a youngster, was Steve Perryman. And if I don't remember anyone from that era, out to the that group of players, Steve Perryman is the guy that I, name wise, name recognition, I do remember him. And then it moved on to, Ozzy Ardiles and Ricky Villa, becomes, the next set of, in that era, set of players that I, remember. Pat Jennings and you know, was another, and then you have Gascoigne and Waddle and Hoddle, and a slew of players, Gary Lineker, just a potpourri of players that you go through the years. Those earlier years when Spurs were winning, especially the FA Cup, your years kind of get muddled a bit. And so when I started looking back, I was like, oh, this was this year, that was that year. Remember some battles with Man United in as well. And so, you know, I get online and I'm not mad. I'm not mad at people online. I just think that you take each generation with, I'm looking for the right word here. You just treat each generation differently. because a lot of the fans or older heads that I meet online, I'm tempted to say, "How old are you?" And so we get to the point wherein a football discussion is not about football; it's about personality. It's about whether or not I like the manager and whatever it is I know about Daniel Levy and what everyone is saying about Daniel Levy, then that's the way I like the club. That is the way I think football is. If the manager goes out and just screw the whole thing up with his decision and his tactical way of playing, and that's what costs you the game. We can always go back and say, well, we wanted X, and the chairman didn't sign X, and therefore that's the reason why we actually lost, paying absolutely no attention to what the manager just did. And you find out that you ended up with having discussions and online. And so when I try to dip into my mailbag just to see some of the comments and responses from subjects, specifically a signing, and in this case it's the injuries. I for one said that the injuries are excuses, not that the injuries themselves doesn't affect the team. What I'm saying is that if you are not strategic enough, if you're doing things when you have a full squad and you still wasn't winning, then injuries cannot be the issue. It is compounding your problem, but it's not your only issue. And so what you hear from a lot of fans is that, Daniel Levy never backed the manager in the summer window. And you're like, holy shit, what are we talking about here? What are we actually talking about? You hear Ange speak. And I responded to one particular post today, right? And I said that the players, especially on defense, there's no recognizable shape as to how the team wants to defend or how they're defending. There is no visibility of saying that I'm going to get back into this shape. What you do know and what you do see is that consistently you have two center backs isolated based on how we push forward. What you don't see is how we come back and fill those gaps to make sure that we have enough men behind the ball. It's always a scramble to get back. And so when you talk about stuff like that, someone will say, well, we wanted a center back in January and we didn't get, in say January, we're the open, window right now, and we're not getting one. We don't have one. And we didn't get one in the summer of last year. And you're like, holy shit, that has nothing to do with a formation or a system or a shape. And this is what you have to be talking about, because people are talking about transfers and players coming and going, but is way off base when it comes to what's happening actually on the pitch. They could care less what's happening on the pitch, but they want to make an argument that the manager was not back, even though the manager said that he was back. This is Ange's words, and you could go look it up if you think I'm lying. Ten Hag, when he came in, was saying that he doesn't have the players to play the way he wanted to play. This was Ten Hag saying that. And because everyone was, and in fairness to him, Ange was a breath of fresh air, and everyone had him, and he had everyone, and everyone is eating out of his hands. So he couldn't do or say anything that's wrong. His record is atrocious after, the the first 15 games, or maybe the 12 games of last year up to this date. And there are mitigating factors in there as well. And so we could understand that. But it still does not change. Here's a fun fact. It still does not change that Harry Kane scores 280 goals. But Harry Kane has never scored in any of the 3 finals or an assist in any of the 3 finals that he has been in. And so when we needed Harry didn't show up. Harry has been to 11 or between 11 and 13, somewhere in there. I think maybe someone had slipped the England team semifinals in there to count for the number. But in terms of Spurs, right? In terms of Spurs, and said, let's use England for that matter, right? Before the last World Cup or European champion, whatever it is that they played. Harry Kane has 3 assists and 3 goals in 13 games. Harry Kane has not scored a goal of significance past the round of 16. The last time he did that was against, I think, either Milan or Juventus. And all it did was put us 2 to 3 goals in the aggregate. It did nothing. So I'm just saying that to say this. The same man who is saying so those are facts, and the reason why I use it is that you can't run away from the fact. There 2 things can be correct and 2 things can be right simultaneously. Harry Kane is a great striker. He's one of the best, the most lethal that the club, country, and the league has ever seen. All of those are facts. But inside his legacy, right, he has something that he has not overcome. The same thing with Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi is one of the greatest players to ever kick a ball. But it seemed like winning a World Cup and winning, the equivalent of his local regional area was what was going to make him great. All the Ballon d'Or that he has won, all the scoring title that he has won, all the club title that he has won, right? He was always been questioned. So things are indelible in a conversation that you can't run away from it. You can't you can't conflate the fact to suit your narrative. The facts has to be able to stand on its own and be there for comparison and be there to guide you in what you're saying. And this is what I'm saying. This is fact said by Ange. Can be quoted, but I'm going to paraphrase what he said. Ten Hag, when he was there, at some point was complaining about not having the right players, not being able to get his players in, and he went out and signed Anthony for God knows what. I think 80 million pounds or euros or whatever he signed him for. You know what Ange said? Ange said that not having exactly what you want is no excuse for you not to be able to implement what you want to do, because the players does not make your system. That's what he said about Ten Hag when he was complaining about not having his players. And so what we're doing, right, is that we're making excuses for Ange. We're making excuses because when he said that these are the players that I want, everything that I'm saying are on the record and are facts. When he came in and he said, okay, I inherited 26 or 30 players. And he said, you know what? I have a clean slate. He never actually did, but every manager said that. I have a clean slate. And these are who I think, are going to be able to fit my system. I'm going to have to change the culture. I'm going to have to do things my way, right? And those are factual statements coming directly from the manager. And as fans, you said, have that because we need it. We have tried Jose, we have tried Conte, all serial winner, and we all end up at not just the same in a way. So let's try something different. Let's put the rein in a successful manager coming out of another league, a serial winner again, but he has a different approach. And according to him, okay, he's the chef. He's gonna go out and buy, the provisions, and everything that he needs, because he's the one who's gonna have to cook. So therefore, I need to do the shopping. And so the players, and when it started with Madison, and everyone was like, that's the way you do it. When he told Madison that, look, buddy, you either come in or you go in, because I have sauce over here and I'm cooking, and I will do it without you. Everyone, that's Hange. Oh, you don't know Hange. And so as you look at it, right, you give him the first year and said he's still trying to change the culture. He's still trying to do all of this that he's trying to do. And so you give him that. Nobody was talking about Daniel Levy the first 10 games. But when the losing starts to happen, when we start to falter, all of a sudden Daniel Levy didn't give the manager what he wanted. And I'm like, how hypocritic can we be? I'm not saying Daniel Levy is no saint. I'm not here to defend him one bit. I know that he has the sins of not being able to put a football operation together to save his life, and he's not going to give up until he becomes successful at the detriment of the club. And I know that about Daniel Levy. But am I going to come here every day and talk about Daniel Levy when I have a game to watch? He's still giving me a game, reasonable players, and a manager that said he has what he needed. He has what he wanted. He has what was asked of the chairman and was given to him. But somehow us as fans, we as fans, don't think that Ange is speaking the truth, that he's a yes man. When it's not going good, he's a yes man. But when it was going good, that's what we want. That's the sauce right there. And so as we look at it and as we try to dissect this thing, when you look at formation, I didn't know how I got over there, but I actually got over there, and I worked my way back here to say, when you are putting a team together, and you're changing the culture and you're putting your ideas together, you need to have that support, both from the chairman and from the fans as well. And I think 18 months or in your second year, 3 windows, that's enough for anyone or any reasonable football fan to look at it and say, I see where this thing is heading. And this thing is not heading in a good direction. But you know what? We can always blame Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy does not, let me repeat that, have anything to do with the dressing room and the tactics that is deployed out there game after game. So why this blame? Why not look at what the manager is doing and make an assessment to see whether or not the players that was brought in, whether or not they're good enough for the system that he wants to play? I didn't watch much of Ange. And so I didn't make a judgment until I start watching him at Spurs. I've done the same thing to every manager. I've given them my 100% support and more until they give me a reason not to. And it's not that I'm not supporting because I'm a Spurs fan. I want him to win. I just think that he's overmatched. And that's a very, very honest assessment. Right. And until, he can show me something else, even with the injuries, I still don't think the injuries is the main purpose and the main cause for where we are. I think Angie's stubborn. My Jamaican jumps out sometimes, y'all. Sometimes it just jump up. I think Ange is not susceptible or not accepting of change. Not susceptible, but I don't think he's accepting of change. I think I made this comment the other day. I may have written it, and I'm not sure if I actually recorded it. But what I discover with looking at Ange over the period of time, I came to the agreement. I'm not psychoanalyzing him. I'm looking at the football. And I discovered that the way he speaks about the football, right? I think if he has to change to accommodate pragmatism and pay more attention to the tactics and that's happening on his side of the pitch, I think he's believing that the detractors have won. And I don't think he intended to give up the way he wants to play, because he doesn't fancy himself a loser. He think he's the underdog. He think the world is against him, and therefore he's going to show everyone that he can compete and he can win with the style and the idea and the vision that he has for the club and how he wants to play. And I totally believe that. I also believe that there's a feeling of I'm not going to give in because everyone else don't believe in me. I think, and I'm going to be very strong here, I think Andrew's literally playing a victim, victimizing himself because of his lack of wanting to adjust to the climate that he's in. The Premier League is tough. And the Premier League is tough for both managers and players coming in. If you're not playing it in England, and even for some people who are playing in England, it is still tough. It's a very, very tough league, and it will chew you up and spit you out in no time. And you know, for those who want to say, well, then you're against the manager. No, I'm not against the manager, and I'm not whining for some who think you're whining. I'm just pointing out the things that I see, and it's blatant. And what you start getting is that you start getting, you know, recognized pundits. I've been saying the same thing since last year. I've looked at the results. I've looked at our teams set up, and I was like, holy shit, we're winning, but we're giving up 15 chances. What happened if teams are going to take those chances? You see that. You know, teams are allowing us with the ball, and we can't break teams down. We beat teams when we're on the run, and they can't stop us. There are just some things that you see because you watch it long enough. The ball does not have a designated destination when we are in attack. It's anyone and everyone that gets up there, and somebody might score. Who it's going to be, nobody knows. You can't play football like that. You can't play football wherein you get it forward and then you run out of ideas. If you want to make Son your target man, you know what? Son is my player. Look at Liverpool. You have Mo Salah, right? You look at Arsenal. I don't know Arsenal have up front, but the ball flow through Saka when he's there, and you see what they're trying to do: get the ball to Saka, get it inside, put it in the box. Martinelli from the weak side. You saw those little things happening. You saw Newcastle play, and everyone is trying to get the ball to Isak. So you see how the balls, with even as bad as Everton is, you know what they're doing. They're trying to get the ball to Calvert-Lewin because he's their talisman, he's their target man. You see Nottingham Forest, I know they play. They're trying to get the ball to Column Adai, or whatever Adai is near. Yeah, Adai, and out to Ilanga, and you know, Morris, you know, Gibbs White, you know, Gibbs White is orchestrating everything from in the middle. So you see teams with direction, and every time they get the ball, there's a focus as to where the ball is. Pardon me, the ball is going. You see City. I'm not comparing Tottenham to any of these teams. I'm just saying that when you have a structured system, when you have a direct path as to how you want to play and what you want to do with the ball, is that you cannot look at it and say, okay, here's a simple example to my rant. If Solanke is out, right, which he is now, right, with the Spurs team, nobody misses him. You know why nobody misses him? He's a striker who is going to be also no different than Brennan Johnson. No one's going to miss Brennan Johnson. You know why no one misses him? Because he's not a primary guy. Nobody misses him. When Van de Ven is out, everybody misses Van de Ven because Van de Ven is the eye line. When he's not there to play the eye line doesn't function. Can't function without him because his speed and his power and everything that he does on the backline cover a multitude of things in that backline, and no one else can play the high line like him because of his speed and his power. He makes everybody else look good, even though he's not the senior of the two. Romero is, but he makes Romero looks better. He makes a midfielder looks better, who is always constantly out of position because the fullbacks are so high. And so when you look at the high line, as I said many times, is that there's one man who makes the high line work, or make it works. And so when you're talking about pragmatism, you're talking about, okay, when I lose Solanke, who am I going to? Am I going to Son? Or is Son going to be the man, and Solanke or whoever is picking up for Solanke going to now pick up the scraps? That is what you need to know. Everyone else is picking up the scrap from Mo Salah, like Gakpo and Diaz and Nunes. Everyone else, feeding off scrap, because you have your focal point. You have your one man who definitely doesn't where the ball goes. The ball is supposed to make its way back to him. And those are facts. And when you look at how we play, there's no symmetry to how we want to get the ball and who want to get the ball to. For example, when teams set up in their 5-on-4, there is no distinct way of saying this is how we're going to bust it. You know what? I'll take a draw. Because, I can't break this team down. But instead of doing stuff like that, we still try to force the issue. Eventually, the team is going to come. They're going to have to come, because you know what? If they never did, right, the onus is not on me to take the ball forward. So if they want to sit compact in their 5-on-4, I'm not going to try and push 8 men up in there. I'm going to probe it to see what's happening, and if I realize that they're not coming, then I'm going to pull it back out. What we do is that we just said, holy shit, we're just go in there and flood it, and everybody's up there, and by the time the ball gets pinged around, we're left with 2 defenders standing on the half line, and our fullbacks are too high, leaving us vulnerable on the wing. And that's what we have been doing. That has nothing to do with Daniel Levy. That has everything to do with tactics. That has everything to do with pre-planning. That has everything to look at the old tapes and said, holy crap, this is how we lost. So the minute you see that formation, that is the difference between American sports and especially football. Right, the play caller sits up there and said, "Oh, I see this design already for this offense," and he called the player and said, "This is where we're going with it." The same thing with basketball. It's control. You have plays, you run your plays. When you get the ball, you do this, and you get it. Try to get the big man, get him overmatched. He shoots over the man 9 out of 10 times. It's all about movements and mismatch. And so you do the same thing, with football. Here's the deal. If a team counterattacks you, right? If a team counterattacks you, just 101 football. I did a little coaching myself. So this one will make sense to you. If a team counterattacks you, right? You're a team that's a running team, right? And in this instance, as an example, the ball goes out for a goal kick, or you possess the ball. Why would you want to put the ball down and bounce it around to get into the attack? When the team on the other side, MO is to make sure that they come back in that 5-4 formation or 4-5 formation, whatever it is, to make sure that you cannot run through them. Why would you want to put the ball down instead of going long with your striker on top? Or whoever you're using, to leak out. We haven't even tried that. We haven't even done it. And that's the way you do, so you can isolate the 2 center backs. We did it once with Porro against Liverpool. And even though Bergvall really and truly shouldn't be on the pitch, he scored. But just concentrate on the play. Just concentrate on how the ball isolated what's his name? The 2 center back, including Van Dijk, because Van Dijk was so high. Because you know why Van Dijk is so high? Because he's pressing up, because we're going to play through them. And Porro went over the top. That's a big difference. That is something that you don't see it often enough. And you see something that happened and said, whoa, that was good football. How many times do you see the wingers take off and Ramiro bounce it around? Or Dragushin, by the way, hits them over the top, right? He's always looking to put it over the top. And you need some of that. The 50-50 ball you can win the 50-50 ball. Anything can happen when you go into a 50-50 ball, and so it allows you to squeeze up when you put the ball in flight. When you put the ball in the air, it still gives you that protection that you can have a formation as to what you're going to defend with, because now, even though you're attacking, right, you can start defending from your mid down, because the ball allows you, right, because the other team is pretty much back its turn, or they're backing up, and you're the one who is facing the ball more than anything else. So you should have the advantage to see what's in front of you, and we don't do that enough. And so my take with some of these arguments is that injuries are really not the problem. And so if I see a bad formation, I don't think having injuries do anything, because if you have a good player, that you'd still have a bad formation, which we did have a bad formation and no shape. So if we want to talk about football and talk about what is happening on the pitch, let's have a discussion like that in good faith. Because I don't see the tactics of the football. I don't see where the ball is going. Yes, we're going to strike goal once in a while. We have a very weak Hillsberg, whatever Berg they are, and it took us forever to beat them. Because I think they were playing for the results that never came, and so when we eventually got one, they were so tired. And don't forget this. They haven't played a competitive match in weeks. They show it that they might be stronger, they might be fresher, but what's going to happen is that fatigue is going to set in, and fatigue did set in, and they couldn't turn it up even when they went 1 down and 2 down. And said yes, they're going to come out of their shell, and they were so entrenched in the formation because they came to get a point. And so teams are satisfied with getting a point from Spurs, and sometimes Spurs handed them the entire 3 by not adjusting to the formation that they're using. And so we're having these fruitless conversations, because as you point that out, that look, the manager is not making a difference. They say, whoa, ho. Daniel Levy did not, and Daniel Levy did not. But we can't have a conversation about what is happening on the pitch. I don't care about the quality. If we can get past the formation and the tactics, then I will start looking at the quality. Because now if I have a formation, I have good tactics, I can determine now whether or not those players are good enough for a good solid tactics and formation. I don't see that to judge the players. So 9 out of 10 times, I'm not going to judge the players for their shortcoming. I'm more going to be harder on the manager, because I don't think the manager is putting them in the best situation to succeed. And that's my rant for the day. Friday night rant. I'm the Rude Boy DJ Paul. Of course, I said I'm going to drop the Rude Boy from my name. I'm working on it. This is January 31st, and so come May 1, I will strictly introduce myself. It's my cadence, because I use it when I, in introducing myself as a DJ. And so my alter ego, the Rude Boy, do come up. Of course, the Rude Boy sound, if you don't know, is actually my sound system. I do own a sound system. I do sound reinforcement, and I also DJ. Here's my controller. I think if you can see my controller here, not this way, come down. There's my controller right there. And so used to exposing my jammies. Yes, so that's what I do. And I'm holding up in my bedroom because my daughter's occupying my studio area. Don't let you know I said that. I gave it up for a worthy cause, and so hopefully I will get it back shortly. So yeah, I'm here doing my thing, but we as DJs, you just put us in a little corner and we still rock out. We still make it work, right? That's how we do it. We're not fussy. We just need a little corner to put all our stuff and we keep the party rolling. So once again, I'm the DJ Paul. I have to get out of it couple of hours, and then the road boy goes away. I'm strictly DJ Paul. Thank you for listening. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do so. Leave a comment for me and I will certainly get back to you. Peace. I'm out. Come on, you Spurs. Be good. Walk good. Until next time. Thank you for watching.